So BIM 360 will let you share all manner of files. It's not just that you've got a central architectural model, which we're opening here, which is creating the local file on your workstation. It's that you can create other content and you can post that to share with anybody that has access to the site, which might include the building owner with privileges just to let them view it, or people working on the project. So if I, for example, if I wanted to create animations and things that used to in the past take a lot of time and effort, really what I'm doing is just using a third-party add-on called Enscape, which I haven't taken off my machine since I installed it, because it's very useful to me. It'll let me also look for design issues, like where I've got surfaces on top of other surfaces. So this is a live window of the model, showing the materials and the time of day and all the rest of it. And I can click on a surface and hit the space bar to position myself with gravity standing on the ground. I can type in K to remember that location with what's called a keyframe, and I can create an inspection path where I can literally kind of say, okay, I want to be here, double click, I'll move forward again, or I can double click on the location I want to be, space bar to go to where my feet are on the ground. That's me turning it to look at the model and going to the correct height. And then what I can do is I can navigate through the project, and any time I want to save the location, I can either just type in K or I can click on the add keyframe that you see there. So I really got multiple XYZ locations in the project. The idea again is that what used to be separate work processes are now more tightly integrated. So I could be producing this kind of animation much earlier in the process and putting it on BIM 360 to share with other team members. We have a 3-hour class on how to everything to do with using Enscape, but this is just a quick overview of how you get a shared model. So I can save those and then play them back, so that what I've got is a path that now travels through my building model and shows me the model as photorealistic. And as I say, I use that also to error check. If I see surfaces on top of surfaces, that's an indication that I've modeled something incorrectly. That path that I created is something that I can save and something that I can render into a finished file. I don't think I'll have to show you that here. Let me just make the point that back in Revit, where everything has been controlled here, that's me saying save path, and I could call it inspection or whatever I want to call it. That means that I and anybody else can load it when they want to have that path in their Enscape window. And when I want to render it out, so I said render to video, that is it actually saving the animation. Just as an example, I worked on a project where it took about 10 days to create models and render out animations, and I now routinely do this in a matter of a few hours. They've also just improved the product where you can render individual views as a batch process. You just take a list of the 3D views that you want rendered, and it will produce JPEGs or whatever you want from them. I don't think I show it here, but you can also do what's called a light view, where it will show you the lumens, or the measure of illuminance inside the building, either with mostly with daylight. So you could see if you had, from daylight, adequate lighting levels on surfaces for different tasks like food preparation or reading, that kind of thing. If you interrupt it'll save the movie up to that point. It's not like you lose the movie. So I just did an escape to get out. And what I wanted to show you was that path that I've got in here, you can go to individual keyframes. You see if I move to 2 here, what I can do is delete the keyframe that was taking me up and into the trees, and then go straight from one to another. So you can readjust the path and its keyframes after you have created it. And then I would render it out. I changed the time on this. The movie actually took about 5 times as long as what you're seeing on the screen. But that would be rendered out to an MP4 file. So okay, so I very quickly produced a movie file that would let people visually understand the project with a lot more clarity. If I close my Enscape window, I also want to show that, for example, I could be doing things like linking into other files from other disciplines. So if I went to Revit and I said add a link, what I can have with the folders available also on my cloud here, I'm rendering to linking the interiors model to my Revit file. So if you remember the interiors, the floors were bare. If I were to pick on, say, the 3rd keyframe here, where I'm inside my project, maybe it was the 4th, then you see that was the interior file where I had the finished floor materials in now the Revit linked file. So I'm also able to combine with other content that's on the cloud.